I want you right now. Let's go ahead right now and let's snap it up. Let's snap it up and thank each and every one of our students that's a part of this experience on today. I am about to get out of your way and introduce our host for this evening, who is going to take us on this amazing ride, keep us energized, keep us excited, keep us going as we spend time celebrating an amazing man of excellence who set a footprint in this country that so many of us are following each and every day. So let's snap it up. Let's snap it up for the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Let's go ahead. Let's snap it up. And Kevin, I am going to pass the baton to you. Again, welcome and thank you for being a part of this experience. Kevin.
Roxy, thank you so much for that introduction. And I want to start off by saying I'm honored to be the host for tonight's event. My name is Kevin Fair. I am the Equity Liaison for Cooper City High School. I've been teaching for about 12 years at Cooper City for about 6. And so I'm honored to be here tonight, and I'm honored that you all are here tonight, as Roxy said, all in celebration of a great person, a great American, Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. King stood for more than justice and nonviolence. He was the embodiment of the promise of America. One of my favorite Dr. King quotes is, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And I think we're all here because we are doing for others. We put others ahead of ourselves, and we want to build a better community and a better country and a better world. And so again, I thank everyone for being a part of this tonight. And I definitely thank our distinguished special guest, who we will get to in 1 second. The purpose of the Equity Hour is to highlight our equity liaisons throughout the district, to promote the efforts of diversity, inclusion, and justice taking place around the county. Our monthly Equity Hour program discusses diverse topics and engages our stakeholders in critical and courageous conversations that are necessary for our schools and our communities. The goals of this evening are to understand the past, present, and future relevancy of the history of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We celebrate the young people on this panel this evening and recognize them for being an integral part of our community. Tonight's program gives them the opportunity to speak their truth. It encourages them to engage, encourages them to continue to engage in community involvement efforts and to understand the importance of self and community advocacy. This is also an opportunity for educators and other stakeholders to engage in culturally responsive action in real time with our youth, and to acknowledge and affirm the lived experiences of our students, which is absolutely critically important. Lastly, we will learn about the upcoming events celebrating the civil rights icon. We will talk to other organizations which are engaging students of color within Broward County schools, as well as impact these organizations, the impact that these organizations are making in our community. I would first like to take a minute to thank and welcome and acknowledge our featured organizations for tonight. The 5 groups that will be featured and represented here are Mentoring Tomorrow's Leaders, the 5,000 Role Models of Excellence Project, the Black Student Union, the Human Relations Council, and the Muslim Student Association. Our distinguished student, district, and community panelists will tell you more about these important organizations and the critical work that each is doing at our school sites and our communities. Before we officially begin, I want to take this time to acknowledge and introduce any special guests that are a part of us this evening. Excuse me 1 second, technical difficulty, sorry.
We are so excited that everyone's here. You know what? As we're waiting for Mr. Fair to come back, why don't you chat about maybe if it's a quote or if it's that one thing that resonates with you from the life of Dr. Martin Luther King that has made an impact on your life. Let's go ahead and let's blow the chat up. Some of the things that have impacted your life. I know we all know about that dream, don't we? We all know about that dream. And Miranda, I see that smile because we are living the dream. What are some of the things that have impacted your life as it relates. Come on, I don't see the chat blowing up. I don't see the chat blowing up. What are some of the things that have impacted your life as a result of the life that was lived by Dr. Martin Luther King? All right, so nobody's going to help me out here. Miranda, go ahead,
Miss
Miranda.
Roxy.
Yes, Mr.
Hey,
Burgess.
this is Mr. Burgess. Before we do that, I definitely want to recognize our school board chair,
Awesome.
Ms. Laura Rich Levison. We've been blessed to have 2 school board members to participate in this equity hour, and they are Nora Rupert and Miss Debbie Hickson. So we definitely want to give up our snaps for taking the time to be a part of this equity hour this evening.
Right.
Absolutely, we definitely want to do that. Thank you so much for that. And we will hear from our distinguished guest a little bit later in the evening. Now I would like to introduce our community panelists for the evening. So our first community panelist is Joy Vesey of the chair, who's the chair of the Fort Lauderdale Dr. Martin Luther King Celebration Committee. Joy is a multimedia communication strategist and an e-trip architect. She is also president of the Joy of Multimedia and the founder and creator of Travel with Joy. Her mission in life is to help transform youth into global learners and to help organizations bridge the communication gap through the power of virtual live events. Joy, welcome. Please tell us more about yourself and the organizations that you run.
Joy, we're going to need you to unmute yourself. We feel the energy through the screen.
You feel the energy. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. I wanted to say I am the board chair elect. Actually, the office really doesn't start until March. And so this is a perfect opportunity for me to really get to understand what the young people are all about when we're talking about, and I like how you said it, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And so I am so excited. Yes, I am the president of Joy of Multimedia, where I create events, virtual live events for children to transform them to be global learners so that not only you can communicate with each other, but all over the world. We have this opportunity. And you was talking about a quote, and I wanted to share this with you. Something I read today, a post. I think it's so perfect as to what we're talking about. And it says, rivers do not drink their own water. Trees do not eat their own fruit. The sun does not shine on itself, and flowers do not spread their fragrance for themselves. Living for others is a rule of nature. We are all born to help each other. No matter how difficult it is, life is good when you are happy, but much better when others are happy because of you. And I give honor to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. this whole weekend because that is what he stood for. And I thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Joy. We appreciate you being here, and we look forward to hearing more from you later in the program. Next, I want to introduce Antonio Burgess. Antonio is the district coordinator, mentoring initiatives, and coordinator of the 5,000 Role Models of Excellence project, which is part of the Department of Equity and Diversity. He has 10 years of experience working in Broward County Public Schools in many different capacities, including teacher, department head, and instructional coach, in which he provides academic and behavior support to schools within Broward County. Antonio, welcome. Please tell us more about the important programs you oversee and how they impact schools and communities.
Thank you, Mr. Fair, for that introduction. Like he said, my name is Antonio Burgess, and I work in our Department of Equity and Diversity, mentoring across Broward Hub. I coordinate different mentoring initiatives for our district. I manage 5,000 Role Models of Excellence project, and I support and coordinate for our Mentoring Tomorrow's Leaders mentoring, peer-to-peer mentoring program, which is our district's signature mentoring program. A lot of the work that we do in our district embodies some of the ideas of Dr. Martin Luther King. As far as equity and providing equitable opportunities, a lot of the work that we do with our 5,000 Role Models of Excellence project, Mentoring Tomorrow's Leaders, provides equitable opportunities for students in our district. It provides new experiences. It provides opportunities that helps our students reach the next level, which is some of the ideas that Dr. King believed in. You know, I was looking up some history on Dr. King. He completed high school at the age of 15. Most of our students complete high school 18, 17, maybe even 16. Furthermore, he completed college at 19, seminary school at 22, and earned a doctorate degree at 26. Those numbers alone proves that Dr. King believed in quality education. He is a true example of someone who took education by the reins and set forth to use it for good. I don't believe he accepted mediocrity as a standard. He pushed to be more and learn more. He is a beacon for peaceful protest and his massive influence on the civil rights movement. He should also be seen as an inspiration for pursuing true education for both teachers and students alike. He was a prominent for education for all, not just African Americans, but for all. He believed in equality for our students, all students, diversity. Strong minds break strong chains. One of my favorite quotes, and I heard Mr. Fair, tell us his favorite quote, which is a great quote, but one of my favorite quotes is intelligence plus character. That is the true goal. That is the goal of true education. So I want to leave you all with that. And I'm still inspired to continue this great work that we're doing in our district and providing equitable opportunities for our students through our mentoring programs, through our best practices. I'm excited to hear from our students in our district that come from different organizations that we support and that we support in our district. Thank you.
Antonio, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate the work that you do, and it's absolutely critically important. And you gave us a great segue. Speaking of our young leaders that are a part of this panel as well. Now it's time to turn to our young leaders, our student panelists, and please join me in welcoming our student panelists. These young people are some of the current leaders at their school sites and will be the future leaders of our country, our community. And so we appreciate them being here. First up is Raja. Raja, welcome. Please tell us more about yourself and the organization that you represent.
Hi, I'm Raja Mizuki, and I'm representing the Muslim Student Association. I attend Coral Glades High School, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here. Now, I want to introduce Miranda. Miranda, talk to us about yourself, about some of the wonderful things that your group is doing at your school site.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Miranda Anstat, and I am part of the Human Relations Council at my school. And a little bit about what we do is we really work to promote the equity and diversity of clubs, both the officer panel of clubs and also the different activities clubs do throughout the school. And also, I actually serve as a student member of the Human Relations Committee at the county level, where we advise the school board to have more equitable and have more diverse decisions that affect the student body.
Thank you so much, Miranda. We appreciate you being here. We look forward to hearing from you in a few minutes when we begin our discussion. Next up, let us bring in Arnold. Arnold, talk to us about yourself, about the group that you represent.
Hello, my name is Arnold Mcneil. I represent the 5,000 Role Model of Excellence project. I go to Hollandale High School, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Arnold, for being here. We definitely look forward to hearing from you and hearing some of the great insight that you have on Dr. King, his legacy, and how it applies to today. Next, I want to introduce Sasha. Sasha, talk to us more about yourself, more about your group.
Hello, my name is Sasha Robertson, and I'm from South Broward High School, and I'm part of the Black Student Union. And at our school, we promote a safe space for all students to discuss and promote ideas of welfare of our Black peers. And all students are allowed in the club from any background, and we discuss issues of racial inequality, social justice, and etc.
Wonderful, Sasha. Thank you so much. We look forward to hearing from you. And our last student panelist is Amelia. Amelia, introduce yourself to the audience.
Hello, everyone. I'm Amelia Hines. I'm from Black Student Union at Plantation High School. And at this club at our school, we seek to represent the interests of the Black students, emphasizing political, community, social, and educational concerns of the community and of our school. And we strive to promote Black excellence. Yes, that's what we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Amelia. We appreciate it. As you all can see, we have some top-notch student leaders with us today. And so I know you all are ready for a wonderful conversation, and I am as well, to see what these great leaders have to say about Dr. King, his legacy, how his legacy impacts today, impacts the community, impacts their leadership, impacts their school site. So we're definitely ready to hear from you guys. So let's start with our first question. So our first question for our panelists: what is the relevance of historically understanding Dr. King, his philosophy, and his engagement in civil rights? What is the relevance of historically understanding Dr. King, his philosophy, and his engagement in civil rights? Amelia, let's start with you. What do you think?
Okay, so Dr. Martin Luther King is a legendary figure that stands as a pinpoint for the transformation of America's civil rights and equality. It is very much important for us to historically understand Dr. King's philosophy and work in civil rights so we can continue to acknowledge and appreciate this journey to get where we are now, and to utilize this to move even more further as a generation. It is as the saying goes, those who do not remember history are condemned to repeat it. Dr. King's philosophy has vastly helped the community in many ways. His beliefs that everyone is created equal and that no one should be judged based on the color of their skin is still being reinforced to date in order to stop discrimination and prejudice against people of color and to bring us together as one.
Wow, let's get some snaps for that. That was absolutely insightful, powerful, powerful. Our other panelists, does anybody else want to chime in and add to that? All right, so let's continue that discussion and ask another question. And let me come to Miranda, I'll come to you. Continuing on this idea, this topic, how do you think Dr. King's legacy contributes to community engagement and awareness amongst our youth? How do you think Dr. King's legacy contributes to community engagement and to awareness amongst our youth?
Well, I think personally that Dr. King's legacy is incredibly prolific and powerful in all different kinds of communities, and especially within community engagement among youth. I feel like Dr. King really showed that anyone from any background of any race, any ethnicity, anything can come together and make really meaningful and powerful change. You know, like we saw with the riots, we saw with the saw with the protests, during the Black Lives Matter in 2020, everyone came together, everyone across the world, across the nation, we all came together and we all stood for what we believed in, and we all fought for meaningful change. And I know that a lot of people in high school and a lot of young people really came out, really went to those protests and fought for what they believe in. And even at the school level, even during school, during a time of learning, we are still showing this commitment to community engagement, whether it's like participation in clubs that really support different communities, whether it's participation in the classroom of learning about different communities and learning about different cultures and different ethnicities and different backgrounds, and learning more about your fellow classmates, learning more about people. I really think Dr. King showed us all that we're all equal and we can all come together, and really showed us that kind of power that comes with us coming together. And I think that that message serves as a kind of a beacon of hope for all of us in youth today. And we all see this prolific figure of Dr. King, and we know how much we can accomplish if we work together and if we put our minds to what we believe in.
Absolutely wonderful answer. Thank you so much for that, Miranda. Snaps on that. That was absolutely wonderful. And one of the many things that stood out to me personally in your answer is, you said it perfectly, the multiracial, multicultural, multigendered makeup of the protesters, city by city, state by state. This was something that touched so many people across so many sections of life, old, young, Black, white, it didn't matter. We were all marching in lockstep. And if that's not Dr. King's dream, what is? So you absolutely nailed it. I absolutely appreciate that answer. Other panelists, get in on this. Let's talk more about this. Sasha, I know you had something to say about this question. Talk to us.
Yes, Martin Luther King had a legacy of peacefully protesting, in which obviously has been uptaken today. And many people use him as an example and as one of like the biggest peaceful protesters in history. And he really pushed for integration amongst children, especially in schools, which we can see today has improved. And although it's not perfect, this is why like we need to continue to follow in his legacy for fighting inequality, especially amongst our youth.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful answer. Thank you so much for that. While we're talking about this, I want to acknowledge a comment that I saw in the chat that stood out to me. This is from Nora. Hello, Nora. You say, if you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl, but by all means, keep moving. That is an absolutely wonderful quote from Dr. King. So thank you very much for that. And if you have any comments that you want to put in the chat, please do so. We want this to be sort of a community engagement, a community conversation. So thank you very much for that, Sasha. Thank you very much for that, Nora. Other panelists, any comments, anything you want to add to that question? Dr. King's legacy contributing to community engagement and awareness. Anything the other panelists want to add?
Well, I just like to add to it, which I think that was exceptional what you guys said. To me, you know, because sometimes you hear so much of negativity in regards to, you know, the dream is not the dream and things like that. But one of the things that really stood out, and you guys hit it right on the head, is, you know, to me, we went to another level. Okay. This was the time where we all came together as one for one cause. There was no color, you know, it was about one cause. And, you know, I really appreciate that. I appreciate Black Lives Matter, you know, and everyone who helped to really promote, you know, to really stand up for injustice. And I'm just so proud of, you know, you guys. I'm so proud of you guys because you are the generation that is making the change. You know, you're making the change. And I know Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King would be laughing in his grave because he's saying, we're winning. And I like that.
Absolutely, Joy. I could not agree with you more. And one of the things to piggyback on what you're saying, and I absolutely loved every word of what you said. One of the things that I teach my students in my classroom is just how young not only Dr. King was, but just all of your civil rights leaders. For those of you who don't know, I'm sure most of you on here do know, Dr. King was in his mid-20s when he takes on the Montgomery bus boycott, 26 to be exact. So he is, for all intents and purposes, a young man with the entire weight of a community, of a country on his shoulders. And I think there are so many messages that we can get from Dr. King. And I think one of the messages that we absolutely can get, and our student panelists are living proof of this, is age does not matter. Age really is nothing but a number. The youth oftentimes drive social change in this country. Us older people, we have too much to lose. We can't do this, we can't do that. We, have so many things at stake, career and family and jobs. Young people just flat out don't care. If they see something wrong, they speak out on it, period, point blank. And that is always one of the things that I admired about young people, which is why I became a teacher and why I love young leaders, because you guys absolutely do not care. If something is wrong, you speak on it, you fight for it, you engage. And I appreciate you all for that, absolutely, just like Joy said. Any other comments on this topic? Absolutely, Roxy. The nation's future is in great hands with these young leaders. Any other comments from our panel before we move on to the next question? Thank you all so much for that. So let's continue talking about Dr. King's legacy and how it impacts to today. Our follow-up question: how have your youth organizations, and this of course is for our student panelists, how have your youth organizations reflected the spirit of Dr. King's legacy? How have your youth organizations reflected the spirit of Dr. King's legacy? Let's turn to Raja. We haven't heard from you yet. Talk to us, Raja. How do you think Dr. King's spirit reflects your legacy or his legacy?
So the Muslim Student Association strives to achieve equality and equity for all members of our community. As Miranda said, this extends to people of all ethnicities, races, and religions. And Dr. King strived for the exact same reasons. He wanted peace, and MSA works to achieve that within our society. Our goal is to build bridges, break barriers, and have courageous conversations. And I truly believe that Dr. King would be proud of our community for initiating these conversations about subjects that are too often seen as political and instead of being social issues. Another one of our goals is to promote strong community involvement through community service, now more than ever in the midst of the pandemic. We've been distributing hygiene kits, school supplies, masks, etc. to those in need. And I know that Dr. King would have wanted us to fight against discrimination and create an inclusive community. Our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that when one of the limbs suffers, the whole body responds to it with wakefulness and fever. In saying this, he meant that us as a community have an obligation to fight discrimination and hate within our community, the same way that Dr. King strived for inclusivity. And our very own organization has come very far in the past few years. We've accomplished the first of many goals towards Muslim inclusivity in Broward County Public Schools by finally getting Eid al-Fitr as a day off on the 2022-23 calendar. And I know that Dr. King would be proud of the steps our community is taking and the conversations we are initiating.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Raja. Absolutely wonderful. And I think, yes, let's snap it up for Raja. That was absolutely beautiful. I think one of the things that stood out with what you said is the inclusiveness of Dr. Martin Luther King. Yes, he was a civil rights leader, but more than that, or just as importantly, he was a human rights leader. He cared about humanity, no matter the color, no matter the creed. He cared about humanity. And oftentimes he spoke on behalf of multiple oppressed communities. And that's important as well. We need to understand that his legacy reaches so far beyond just simply the African American community. It reaches to any community that has a desire and, quite frankly, a deservingness of being included in the American family. And so thank you very much for the work that you do and for the work that your organization does. Thank you so much for that. Other panelists, let's get in on this question. How have your youth organizations reflected the spirit of Dr. King's legacy? Talk to us. Sasha, what do you think? Oh, I'm sorry, Miranda, please, no, jump in.
Okay, yeah. So I'm part of the Human Relations Council / committee. So I know personally, at the council level, we work to do a lot of like diversity and inclusion work. And I think one of the biggest things that we do is really kind of serve as a platform and like a pedestal for other people of other like in other communities, and kind of serve as a pedestal for their voices, so let their voices be heard. And like, we've reached out and asked them, like, how do they think clubs need to be more diverse? Like, how do they think officer positions within clubs need to be more diverse and more open to people from maybe like not all the honors kids or all the officers, have a better like amount of diversity if within like elected positions of clubs. And we've really tried to work at the school level to kind of initiate that conversation with administration, initiate that conversation with other clubs, to be like, hey, what are you doing to help promote diversity within your club and help promote inclusion of all different kinds of people. And we really want to like work to foster those conversations, so it's not like one person is sitting there and suffering and feeling like they can't move forward and they can't be part of a club. We really want every space, not just Human Relations Council, but like throughout my school, throughout Coral Springs High School, to really feel inclusive and diverse, and really put everyone on equal footing. And I think Dr. King really ties into this organization because he really wanted to promote everyone having equality in all facts of life, not just one area or not like just one club. It was throughout the entire school, throughout the entire nation. And that's really what Human Relations Council at the school level has been trying to work to do.
Thank you so much. And it's absolutely incredible, important work that you all do, and you are doing it well. I love so much of what you all have chosen to engage in. You are engaging with the student body, you are engaging with other clubs and the leadership of other clubs, and most importantly, you are engaging with the staff and the administration at that school, because that's ultimately where those changes are going to lie. If you can get those conversations going, we can steer your site into the right direction in terms of inclusivity. So I absolutely appreciate the work that you do. If I can ask, just are your grade levels? Are you guys upperclassmen?
I'm a senior at my school.
Okay. So most of you have been in high school, your school site, for at least 3 years, if not 4. In your opinion, and I welcome any panelist to answer this, how much do you think the issues that we're talking about, inclusivity, diversity, those conversations that Miranda's having with her administration, how much do you think those things have changed at your site from, say, freshman year to now? Anyone, feel free to jump in. Have you noticed any differences, any changes at your school site in terms of programs that are being offered, events that are being run, conversations that are happening as a senior that you just did not necessarily see as a freshman, or have things, been the same? Talk to us. Sasha,
So
I saw Sasha's hand. I'm going to come back to you, Miranda. Sasha, talk to us.
Sorry, I was just gonna say that I have seen a difference in the classes that are being offered to us. Our Student Social Advocacy Club has been pushing for a Latino Studies class, and I feel like they have been more understanding about that, like since years have passed. And I feel like it may be also a recent occurrence of events have caused them to be more understanding of like us pushing for things like this.
Understood, and I'm so glad that you said that, because that was going to be the follow-up question. Do you think that these changes have had anything to do with recent events and the publicity of these recent events? Definitely. Miranda, you were going to say something earlier. I cut you off. I'm so sorry. Please.
It's totally fine. Yeah. So personally, in like my experience, I've noticed just the creation of more clubs at my school. Like when I was a freshman, Human Relations Council didn't exist at my school. So we're on our second year at my school, and we're really trying to build up our membership, trying to build up that engagement. And even with like clubs like that have nothing to do with like human relations or anything like that. Speech and debate, another club I'm in, Business Professionals of America. You know, the advisors have really started to like reach out to students, and I serve as an officer on both of those clubs, and they've reached out to me about like, should we pay how much should we charge for dues after this huge COVID pandemic has left a lot of us, you know, struggling, and a lot of us with not as much cash as we usually have. So they reached out to me, and we in BPA, we usually have like $50 dues. This year we lowered it to 15, and this year we were able to, you know, offer that lower rate for dues to allow more people to join the club and make the club more accessible for everyone. And speech and debate, we were also considering having dues, but then we decided against it to keep it a free and open activity for anyone who wanted to join. So I noticed that throughout my high school career, not only have we added more clubs, but I feel that advisors have become more aware of the differences between students. So it's not just all of one student and all of one type of student, like all honor students in one club. They really want to cast their net to, you know, attract as many people and really have like a community within each club.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And that's absolutely impactful what you say, because it's necessary to have that inclusivity and diversity. Diversity doesn't necessarily just mean racial diversity. It's diversity across socioeconomic status, across genders, so on and so forth. And so you absolutely hit the nail on the head. Thank you for that, Miranda.
Can I add on to that?
I'm sorry.
Can I add on to your question?
Yes, please. Absolutely, Raja. Go for it.
Thank you. So MSA recently, over the past couple of years that I've been in high school, I'm in 11th grade, by the way, but since I was a freshman, you know, like more MSA clubs have been opening across Broward County, and not necessarily just Muslims are allowed in the club. It can be anyone. So we try to really make it inclusive and allow anyone to join, so we can kind of create like a little community in school. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be about just preaching religion. It can be about just having fun as a community, you know? And yes. I feel like that's really changed over a couple of years.
Thank you for that. Absolutely. And I love what you said in terms of it having to be not necessarily about one thing, but bringing everyone together for just a general coming together, celebration and understanding and learning from each other. The more you learn, the less you fear. So absolutely, you guys are doing a great job on that. Let's move on to Amelia. We haven't heard from you in a while. I want to ask you a question. So how do you think Dr. King is relevant in today's context for young people? How do you think Dr. King is relevant in today's context for young people?
So honestly, of the many important historic civil rights activists there are, Martin Luther King is one of the figures that truly resonate with the younger generation. You know, when you ask a lot of young people, Martin Luther King was the first one that they will call out and talk to about. You know, in this generation, Gen Z, as I have noticed, we are more about inclusion and breaking generational norms, standards, and stereotypes that force us to feel unloved and left out in society. And Martin Luther King serves as a reminder that no one should be treated differently because of who they are, and that we should always choose love over hate and unite as people. This inspires us to continue to fight for what is right and for what we believe in. And as I can see, and I'm sure a lot of my peers notice, that through social media, when it comes on to injustices, we are quick to speak up against that. We're quick to speak against racism and prejudice. When Black Lives Matter happened, everyone was ready and rolling to get on it and fight for what was right. And I feel that Martin Luther King is one of the people that everybody looks up to know, you know, we're ready. We're gonna fight for what is right and for what we believe in. We don't go against, you know, past generations. They did things different ways, but we are always ready to accept new things. And I really love Martin Luther King and what he serves for us and for this generation.
Oh, there's nothing else to say except for snap, snap. Oh, the passion of all of our panelists. It comes through the computer. It shines through the computer. And Amelia, you absolutely exude passion. And I think that's so critically important for the kind of work that you guys do. You guys have, and this is what I think all of us need to understand with our students, they have so much on their plate just under normal circumstances with just a full class load, and then they are choosing to be leaders on top of that and add these other things on top of that. And so I absolutely just applaud and appreciate you guys. And I'm looking in the chat and I see so much love being poured out to these students. The future is absolutely bright. Thank you so much, Amelia. Let's go to Miranda. I know you have something to say about this topic as well.
Really just Amelia said it wonderfully. I feel like Gen Z has such an interesting relationship with like others. So we all grew up in this age of social media where anything we wanted to know about anywhere in the world, we could find out instantly. And that has really enabled us to really have a lot more compassion than other people. I noticed that I'm going to college next year. I'm a senior, and everyone's like, oh, you're going to find more about the world. You're going to learn more about the world when you go to college. But if I want to learn about the world, I can just go on my phone. I can just scroll through TikTok and see people from all over the world, people from Canada, people from Mexico, people from Europe, people from Asia, people from all over the globe. And I feel like Dr. King really showed us, and really the reason why so much of us relate to him is because he fought for a world that was equal before everyone had all this like intercommunication. He fought for this equality before we all could communicate with each other across the globe at all times. So now us with this increased level of compassion, because we can see what's happening in the world, we can see through unfiltered news, through unfiltered eyes, what's actually happening. We can see when things are happening, when things are happening in the world, when like human rights violations are happening anywhere in the world, and even here in the United States, we can see it happening. We can see it happening. We can speak out on it. And that like level of compassion, I think really enables us to really connect with Dr. King and really support his message and support his want for like unity and equality. And this interconnectedness really enables us to want to speak out on these issues and to really fight for what we believe in and what like we as a community, we as a generation, we as, even as individuals, what we really believe in, what really feel like should be done. And yeah, I definitely think Martin Luther King is a huge role model for a lot of people. And that's really how he connects to a lot of young people. I know he connects to me in that way.
Beautifully said, perfectly said. That word compassion, I think you hit the nail on the head. This is certainly, in my experience as a teacher, working with young people, that is certainly the connection between Gen Z and Dr. King. There is a level of compassion amongst you all for things not necessarily of yourself. So I don't have to be a thing to have compassion for that thing. I don't have to be Black to have compassion for African Americans. I don't have to be part of the LGBTQ community to have passion for that community. And so that's one of the things that absolutely I see in my capacity working with Gen Z students. So I could not agree more. Thank you so much for that, Miranda. Are there any other panelists who want to be a part of this particular question? Anyone have anything to say? Beautiful. So let's move on to our last question of this panel, of this discussion. And the question is, how can the legacy of Dr. King engage students to actively be a part of their communities? How can the legacy of Dr. King engage students to properly be active as a member of their community? Arnold, we want to hear from you. I want to hear your thoughts on that particular question. Talk to us.
Okay, so Dr. King's legacy embodied influential decisions, nonviolent protests, humanitarian rights, and so much more. Students can be engaged in their community by his legacy By participating in organizations that rise the question of equality and inequality, that promote togetherness, that promote nonviolence within the youth and their community. So I'm in an organization called the 5,000 Role Models of Excellence. We promote nonviolence in schools. So with that, students should be engaged by promoting different aspects of his legacy.
Absolutely. Snap on that. That is a profound point, Arnold. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Any other panelists want to speak on this? Raja, I know you had something that you wanted to say about this.
All right, so I would like to add that the legacy of Dr. King has created an environment where students feel safe to engage within their communities. The various clubs here today, like MTL and the others, they all have created opportunities for their students to participate within their community through various acts of community service. We as students are able to carry on his legacy through organized movements within our schools and districts to achieve equality and equity for all students. And I feel like he really inspired that, and we look up to him for it.
Thank you so much for that, Raja. Absolutely. Panelists, anything else you want to add?
I'll jump in just for a second.
Yes, please go for it.
Yeah. So, you know, the panelists, first I want to commend the student panelists. They were awesome. They were spot on, articulate, knowledgeable, and that shows a good representation of the students and the hardworking teachers and parents that we have in our district. But just to piggyback on, you know, one of the great things about our district is we offer a lot of different opportunities for students to be engaged, from mentoring programs, human relations councils, Latinos in Action. We are very, very diverse, and I think that's one of our strong points in the district. Those are ways that you can get involved school-based, okay? And if you see something that's not available, I encourage you, start it yourself. You have adults, you have sponsors here at your schools that you can look up to. You have district staff. You can use them for guidance. But if you see something that you see a need and it's not available, start it. And I'm sure you have an adult in your school that will support you and be a part of it. Secondly, in the community, there are several different organizations that you can join. You know, we use social media, Google it, look it up, find an organization that aligns with your beliefs and your ideology, you know, and what you believe in. Find an organization. You're never too young. Be a part of it, work towards it. And lastly, be involved in school, your academics, graduate, go on, be productive citizens, register to vote, be a part of the political process. Those are ways that you could be a part of the legacy of continuing the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King.
Antonio, thank you so much for that. And I absolutely want to again appreciate you in particular as being the coordinator and the leader of these organizations. And you said it perfectly. There are so many different organizations that are a part of Broward Schools and of course Broward County. And so we absolutely encourage our student leaders and our students in general at their various sites to be a part of it. And I think Ms. Burgess said it perfectly. If you don't have it, create it. Absolutely everything that should be a part of our inclusion and diversity and justice needs to be. So thank you all for that. Before we close out, forget snaps, I want to give a round of applause to our young leaders. This was absolutely engaging and wonderful and insightful. The future is in great hands. There's no other way to say it. The future is in absolutely great hands. Antonio Burgess, you just spoke. I know, Joy, do you want to have anything that you want to add before we close it out and go to our guests?
I do want to recognize our curriculum supervisor for social studies department in our district, Dr. Louise Ball. She is in attendance as well, and this work falls up under our social studies department as well. So definitely want to recognize Dr. Louise Paul. She's awesome. She's phenomenal and very knowledgeable of the content and a great leader in that area.
Very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Burgess. Mr. Fair, we wanted to make sure that the audience didn't have any questions that they wanted to chat to our panelists. We know we have a little bit of time left, and we wanted to ensure that there was not someone who may have had some questions. So the team wanted to be sure to do that.
Yes, absolutely. I was going to see if Joy had something to say, but no, you're right. Let's open it up to the audience. Are there any questions that you have of our community and district panelists or our student leaders? Any issues, any questions or comments? Please, yes, I'm sorry, go for it.
I had a question. You asked the question, what is the relevance of historical understanding of Martin Luther King, his philosophy and engagement in civil rights? I did not hear the answers of the student panel. Is it okay if they repeat?
This is for what question?
The first question, what is the relevance
of understanding Dr. King?
Yes.
Sure, we can give a brief recap. Amelia, do you want to give a brief recap of that first question, the relevance of historically understanding Dr. King and his philosophy?
Yes, I would love to recap on what I said. So basically, we are saying how important it is that we recognize what has happened historically with Martin Luther King, because it is a pinpoint for the transformation of America's civil rights and equality. It's very important for us to appreciate and acknowledge the journey that has taken place for us to be able to be where we are now. And also we use this knowledge to go forward. And I also quoted the saying that goes, those who not remember history are condemned to repeat it. And you know, his philosophy of that everyone is equal and that no one should be judged by the color of their skin, it's being reinforced today to stop discrimination against people of color. I'm sure everyone has heard the saying, and you know, it's his philosophy that has helped works after works after works that has brought us where we are. And we will continue as a generation, as our young generation takes over to, you know, really take what we have learned from Martin Luther King to carry our society to a different level.
Oh, thank you so much for that. It's the passion. I just can't get enough of it. It absolutely comes through the screen. Thank you so much for that. Any other comments or questions from our audience for our young leaders? Speak now or hold your peace. All right, so with that said, we have just enough time to come back to our distinguished guest who joined us tonight, and we cannot thank you all enough for being a part of this equity hour tonight. So I want to offer the floor.
Can I say something before we go there? Because I did have something to share. Is it okay for me to share that right now?
Absolutely, go for it.
Yeah, I just don't want you guys to miss the opportunity. We can continue this, okay? This Saturday, we are having an Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King Leadership Summit at Walker Elementary and Old Dillard Museum this Saturday at 10 o'clock. And you can go to the website. I'm going to put it in the chat here. But while I do that, I just want to say hi to Dr. Louise Ball. I am a product of the Broward County Schools. I was the former distance learning outreach specialist for Broward County Schools, and I did a lot of projects with Dr. Ball. So I'm so glad to hear that she is on today. But you can go to kingholiday.celebration.com. I'm putting it in the chat, and you can either join us face to face. It's limited, I'm telling you right now. And you also can join us through Zoom, and that information will be on the website as well. And we'd love to see you. If you do come there, please say hi to me, okay? I'm looking forward to see your beautiful faces.
Thank you so much for that. And that is going to be a wonderful event. That promises to be engaging and everything that we need to not only celebrate Dr. King, but celebrate our young leaders who are marching in Dr. King's steps. So let's finally close out our evening by welcoming our District 7 rep, Nora Roper, District 9, Deborah Hickson, and Dr. Louise Ball, who Mr. Burgess talked about earlier. So if any of our special guests want to speak and address the audience, please do so. We would love to hear from you.
Hi, this is Debbie Hickson. I just want to say I am so very impressed with the panel, their enthusiasm, their compassion for others, and the belief that we do have a world where equity can exist. As I said in the chat, our future is bright with leaders like this, and I just so appreciate being part of the conversation and being able to listen to what they have to say. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you so much. Dr. Ball.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I jumped ahead, Dr. Ball. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I was going to offer it to either Dr. Ball or to you, so absolutely jump in.
I have a unique experience. My daddy was a teacher up in New York, and he got his master's degree at Hofstra University in New York. And the keynote speaker was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I was around 3 years old, and this is when you realize we're really lucky to have such social media that we do now, because there's just an old fuzzy black and white picture of me getting out of my mom's arms and kind of crawling toward the stage. I don't know if it was just responding to just the magnetism or whatever, but I was a kid trying to crawl that way. And my mom at that time and continued to tell me that that was one of the most amazing speeches that changed her life, and my dad as well, and everybody in that audience. But what I took away as I got older, and I still feel very much that this is the way for me to be able to advocate. It's the story of the starfish. I'm sure everybody's heard it, where a little girl is throwing one by one the starfishes back in, and the older man says, well, how do you think there's going to be that much of a difference? What can you do? What can one person do? And of course she says, it makes a difference to this starfish. And to me, that embodies Dr. Martin Luther King. No excuses. You as one person can make a difference. And I'm getting kind of teary because listening to you all, wow, you've got it. My goodness, heads and shoulders above what I was capable at your age, and you found your voices, which is amazing. So I thank you, and I look forward to hearing more about you and coming back and being a part of this the next time. But thank you so much. I mean, you truly are lights for us. So mwah, I give you all hugs and kisses.
Thank you so much for that. And I can echo that. I think of myself at 16 and 17, and I was a part of a couple of clubs and the president of this, I was an editor, whatever, but I was not as focused and as on point and as driven as these young leaders are. So I can echo that 1,000%. You guys, there are no words. The amount of passion and energy and intelligence and all of these things that you all have, you guys are going to make such a difference and such an impact in this world. So this is just the beginning, and I look forward to seeing how bright that light shines. Dr. Ball, you have the last word if you want it.
No, well, just wanted to say it was a great hour, enjoyed hearing from everybody, and just a big thank you to Mr. David Watkins, the Director of the Equity and Diversity Department, for hosting and organizing the Equity Hours. Thanks, Mr. Watkins.
And so thank you to our distinguished special guest. This concludes our Equity Hour. On behalf of the Equity Diversity Department, on behalf of myself, I want to thank everyone who has attended this evening. I want to thank our community and district panelists for their dedication to the youth. I want to thank the Equity and Diversity Department individuals who work so hard to put not only this program together, but just equity and diversity in our school sites. It's a thankless job, but it's worth it and then some. And most importantly, I want to thank our young leaders, our student panelists. You all are the bright light shining in this world, and that light is only going to get brighter. So thank everyone who came to be a part of this evening, everyone in the audience. We appreciate your time and your dedication to equity, inclusion, and justice. Have a wonderful night, everyone.
Yeah, let's give it up for Kevin. Come on, let's give it up for Kevin. You know what, Miss Rupert, I think Kevin has a pretty young voice too. I think he has a pretty young voice too. So we appreciate teachers and educators. Let's snap it up for educators. Let's snap it up for the teachers who are doing what I know. Look at Miranda, right? What amazing what you are doing, because young people, the young people are shining like they are because of some of the amazing things that are happening in the classrooms, especially there in Broward County Public Schools. VSC is very excited to work this entire year with these equity hours. And so save the date, Joy, save the date, Amelia, January 27th. January 27th will be International Holocaust Awareness Day. We will spend some time in the Equity Hour discussing the importance of teaching Holocaust education in our schools today. So stay tuned. BCPS, equityconference.com. I put that link in the chat earlier. Stay tuned to your emails, but let's stay up to date. Let's continue the conversation. Let's give it up. Thank you so much, Joy and Antonio. Wow, what energy, what passion. Thank you to each and every one of these young people. Nora, I was tearing up. You know, I had to shut my camera down because I was tearing up all throughout the experience. I couldn't help myself. But thank you. We look forward to you coming in and tuning in every single month for this amazing Equity Hour. Thank you again to Mr. Watkins and his dynamic team, Mr. Tom Albano and his dynamic team that are putting this on together. So thank you all so much, and it is our pleasure. It is our pleasure to be, and we are honored and humbled to be a part of these experiences. So I was joined tonight by Camille Wilson. We are excited about the work that we're doing with Broward County, and you all have an amazing evening. Thank you very much. On your way out, chat one word that talks about how you felt about this experience. If it was inspired, if it was encouraged, if whatever it is, what's your one word? As motivated, love it, inspired. What's your one word? Motivating, inspired. Everybody's inspired. How are you feeling? Awesome. As you uplifting. Isn't it just positive to see and feel positive words, especially in so many negative spaces that we find ourselves in? Awesomeness. I think that's a made up word. Awesomeness. Exclamation point, exclamation point. Heard. Somebody said heard. Amazing. As we are going out, that's how we want to leave these experiences every single month. Knowing that we can make a difference as educators, as community stakeholders, as student voices. Grateful. What an amazing experience on this evening. Have a great evening. Good night.
China or even Russia or any totalitarian country. Maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
Wow. Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, students. You did an awesome job. I'm going to send your principal a
Amazing.
note.
Amazing job. Amazing. Miss Russell, Miss
thank
Williams, oh my goodness, this has been phenomenal.
Yeah,
This
we
has been
did. We was up.
phenomenal.
You I'm sorry. Rod, you